We have a ton of foundations here. I don't need all of these. I think half of them have gone bad. They've gotten buried in the back of my drawers. It's time to do a declutter. Just for reference, I have dry skin. I typically like something a little bit more natural, light coverage to medium coverage on the dewier side. But in general, I just need my foundation to look like skin. I'm not a fan of really matte, high coverage foundations. So hopefully this video is super helpful, and if you do enjoy it, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Now let's try and organize this. So one product that I really enjoy is the Misha Perfect Cover BB Cream. This is in the shade 13. I think that this has definitely become a sort of cult classic with those of you with, dry to normal skin, all the way to combination skin, because this is one of those BB creams that kind of looks more like a foundation. It gives you a really pretty natural finish. It's not way too dewy. And I do think that that's something that a lot of people appreciate, but it covers everything you need it to cover, and it really sinks into the skin. With some, more dewy foundations, I have found that sometimes they sit on top of the skin. They give you that dewiness, but you can kind of see the makeup sitting on top, which I really don't like. This really sinks into the skin. It's also incredibly affordable. I'm pretty sure it's around $13 on Amazon. The shade range isn't great, but the shade 13 is actually a pretty good match for me. So this is the one that I repurchased. It's a really great one. I'm definitely keeping this. One that you can definitely skip is the KGD Moisture Foundation. And it's not because this formula isn't great, it's because the other KGD I prefer and definitely recommend you splurge on that one. It's really pretty. It's a little bit more of an emollient formula, but when I'm just comparing this one that I just raved about, and it's $13 and this is around $60, this is just one that I think you should pass on. Pretty dewy finish, the coverage is nice, it looks nice on the skin, but again, it's not so mind-blowing that I would recommend splurging the money on it. This is actually getting pretty old. I've used up most of it, so I'm just going to throw this away. Another one that's pretty old, obviously, is the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumi Radiance Perfecting Foundation. So one thing that you will see, a common theme throughout this video is that if I haven't found a perfect shade match in a range, there are other foundations that I have a perfect shade for, and those are the ones that tend to get forgotten about. And then we have a situation like this. It's definitely wasteful. And in 2020, I need to do a better job making sure that the foundations I'm purchasing are a true shade match. Something like this will just keep happening. This formula is really nice. It's around a medium coverage, natural, more luminous finish. It wasn't a bad product. I have the shade 1N1 Cream, a little bit too peachy for me. So again, just gonna throw this one away. Let's talk about the MAC Face and Body, because this is actually what I'm wearing on my skin today. I actually did not like this when I first tried it. I tried it out. I said, this isn't giving me any sort of coverage. My skin just looks greasy, and that was kind of it. Then I was watching Daisy Cash. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, and she recommended applying it this way. Take a little bit between your fingers, rub them together until you feel like the product is getting a little bit tacky, and apply it with your fingers onto the skin. You get way more coverage that way, and it actually ends up looking way more skin-like. As a whole, I find when I use this, it really sinks into the skin when you would apply it that way. And in general, I just find that this works so well as a very quick in and out sort of product. If you need to just quickly apply something and be out the door, it's a great product. And the price per ounce is awesome. You get 4 ounces, which is great. I have the shade N1. This is definitely a face and body foundation that I would recommend over and over again. Keeping that one. Okay, a product that I need to get rid of. This has kind of had the same sort of fate that the Laura Mercier had. The Dior Airflash is great. It's beautiful, especially if you want very airbrushed, wedding sort of makeup. But the shade range is awful. This is the shade 100. It's incredibly peachy. I want to say that they maybe extended the shade range recently. I'm not sure, but this just isn't my shade. Do I love the formula? Yes, I think the formula is gorgeous. I actually like to apply this with a damp sponge, like apply the product to the sponge and then onto my face. And the finish is great. It looks good on my dry skin. And I actually think if you have, you know, more combination skin, you would really, really enjoy this. But because I haven't found my right shade, it's just sitting here. I need to get rid of it. This is actually 2 years old, maybe. I'm gonna zoom you guys in a little bit closer. So the Shiseido Sinker Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation is a foundation I actually recently did a review on. This is another one of those foundations that if you're looking for something good for dry skin all the way to combo skin, I can actually see this working decently well for someone with oily skin too. If you have any lines on your face, this is not going to settle into them. If you find that your skin is dehydrated and again, you have those fine lines that you don't normally have, or maybe you do normally have them. Maybe you just have fine lines in general. It kind of rehydrates the skin throughout the day. It holds up really well. Sometimes in areas where I find my makeup breaks up quite a bit, I'm thinking of areas like my chin especially. This does a really good job in those areas of not breaking up, not cracking. As a whole, I think that this is a really special formula, and I definitely recommend it for those of you with mature skin types especially. But you know, as someone with dry skin, I get a lot of use out of this. I have the shade 140 Porcelain. It's not perfect, but it's definitely passable. Definitely keeping this. A foundation that is like pretty much empty. I'm actually not sure why I still have this. It's the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear. This was actually for a long time my go-to matte foundation. Whenever I want a more matte look, I do like to sort of spot powder my face instead of going in with something really matte all over the face, but this has a very special finish in my opinion. You know, it's more matte, but it is also suited to dry skin. It ends up giving you a really polished look. This can be built up quite a bit as well. There's definitely some pigmentation to it, so I always found that this could give me a very flawless look without it looking super makeup-y. This is also really pretty if you need something that lasts all night. I always found that when I wore this and I was going out for an entire night or was going out for, you know, an entire day and needed my makeup to last, this was definitely a tried and true. I had the shade 100 Ivory. I'm just gonna throw away the bottle. Actually, a foundation that reminds me quite a bit of the Lancome is the Infallible Freshwear from L'Oreal. I think this has just a tiny bit more dew than the Lancome, but this is by no means a super dewy foundation. If you need something that, you know, looks fresh but will last a long time on your skin, this is really, really good. I know I have seen a few people talking about this on YouTube, but maybe not even enough in my opinion. The formula is really, really nice. It's buildable in a way that I really enjoy. I like when a product is more liquidy while also being buildable, and it definitely still looks fresh on the skin, which I can't tell you, if there's anything you'll find out about me throughout this video, is that I need my makeup to look fresh. Even if it's for 3 hours, you know, I prioritize my makeup looking really healthy on my skin over the product lasting all day, but looking like shit all day, if you know what I mean. So yeah, but you don't need to pick. With a foundation like this, your makeup can look really pretty all day. Definitely a good find. I'm keeping that one. Okay, this one needs to go. It's definitely expired. It's the Makeup Forever Waterblend. This one was nice. I do think it kind of got lost in the shuffle of my makeup drawers and I just didn't get as much use out of it as I wanted to. It's the shade Y245. This is a hard one because I can't really say why I didn't really use it up, other than the formula just wasn't really mind-blowing to me. I'll talk about other skin-like foundations later in this video that I would constantly go to because I just felt like my skin looked better when I had those. Nothing against this one. I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely not my favorite. So just gonna throw this away because you can see there it is a little bit gross. So the Colourpop Pretty Fresh, I actually did a review on this quite recently, comparing it to the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. I'll leave that link down below if you'd still want to see that comparison. This is really, really good, and I wanted to review this one quickly for you after talking about this one, because this is one of those foundations that I feel like you're much better going off with this. It has the same sort of thin consistency, you know, a more watery consistency. Actually, the Pixi is quite similar to the Colourpops. So let's just talk about both of these. If you're looking for a very skin-like foundation that's kind of like a watery gel, both of these to me have a more watery gel sort of formula. The Colourpop has a better shade range than the Pixi, so automatically I tend to recommend the Colourpop, but both definitely are good. I find myself reaching more towards the Colourpop just because it has like a slight bit more coverage. Both look very fresh and skin-like on the skin. Pretty sheer products in general. I will be keeping the Colourpop. And then this is the first one that I'm going to give away because it is still quite new. So we'll put that one over here. All right, this one is pretty much gone. And this is so old. I don't know why I have this. This is just a thing. It's a thing for me. I hoard my foundations, even though if there's anything you should be going through a lot, you know, aside from something like mascara, is something that you're putting like all over your entire face. There's nothing wrong with the Nars Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. It's actually quite good. I have the shade Finland. If you want a very easy, radiant, pretty finish to the skin, this is a really, really nice option. I don't have anything bad to say about it at all. There are some other ones that I think I prefer, but it's just old and pretty much all used up, so I'm just gonna throw this away. Product I'm going to give away is the Flex Foundation Stick from Milk Makeup, and I do really like this formula. If you want something that is a little bit more on the, it's not matte per se, but it's not quite just natural, I think. I tend to apply this after I have used a facial oil to kind of give it just a little bit more glide. In general, I think the formula is nice, but the shade is a little bit weird. It's pretty. I don't think it's mind-blowing, but it is one of those products that I think is really nice. So, and it's quite new, so I'm going to pass that along to someone else who's gonna get more use out of it. All right, let's talk about, I think like, this is probably still my holy grail foundation, and it sucks to say that because it's so expensive. Oh. Okay. Obviously like a little too excited or something. It's the KGD Aqua foundation. I have two shades. Both of these are 002 and this is 012. If you're looking for a water-based foundation that you can build and build and build to, you know, a really solid medium coverage, but it never doesn't look like your skin, it's really difficult to make this look like apparent makeup, which is what makes this such a unique product and one that I have recommended over and over again, because I struggle every time when I'm talking about this product to find something that I don't like about it other than the price. It's incredibly expensive, but obviously I have taken the plunge and I have repurchased. This one is actually completely used up. I'll explain why I have it later. But KGD actually reformulated, and I was pretty scared that the reformulation was going to be super significant. It turns out that I really can't tell the difference at all. I have an entire video about that actually. I'll leave it linked down below. But anyway, so long story short, the reformulated version is in the plastic and the glass is the original. I was planning on putting this formula into the glass because I personally prefer the glass, but that never happened. So there's no reason for me to keep this. This can be recycled. So I'm going to keep both of these. I tend to use this one for travel when I really need a very consistent, dependable product. Obviously, this is like pretty much holy grail status for me. So keeping this one, using it mostly for travel, and then whenever I'm home, I use this one. Another product that has kind of reached holy grail status for me in the past, I still really love it. It's the IT Cosmetics Your Skin Bit Better CC Cream. I have the shade Fairlight. I do find that this one is slightly too dark for me. I think the Fair is a better shade match. So quick story about this one. Whenever I'm sick and I need to look like I have my shit together, this is always the CC cream I go for. And it's because simply you can have like an incredibly dry, cracked, scaly nose from blowing your nose. You can really have very sunken looking skin, and you can apply this and it just covers everything. All of the dryness really hydrates the skin. It makes the skin look luminous and honestly just incredibly healthy. I haven't really found another product that has been able to do that in the way that this does. So I always have one on hand, and not just for days that I feel sick, really any day that I want a very dewy, fresh look. This tends to be one of those products that a lot of people with mature skin tend to like, because it is one of those makeup products that immediately awakens the skin. And I've always appreciated that aspect of this product. Keeping that. So the Skin Feels Good from Lancome is a really excellent formula. And I wanted to mention this one right after talking about the IT Cosmetics, because if you think that the IT Cosmetics is just slightly too dewy for you, I think you would really enjoy this. I am gonna pass this one along, but let me explain why. This actually kind of blurs the skin in a way I think that IT Cosmetics doesn't necessarily do. It still gives very similar coverage, and it looks radiant and healthy on the skin, but it's not as dewy, and it does kind of airbrush the skin a little bit more than, say, something like the IT Cosmetics. The only reason I'm going to pass this along is that the shade matches off, and the shade range in general with this one is a little bit off. I really like the formula, but it's time to pass it along. I know I'm not reaching for it because I always get that kind of weird jawline mask sort of look when I wear it because the shade's wrong, which is like, ugh, a pet peeve. So I definitely will pass this along, and I think someone's really gonna love it. Let's talk about some skin tints. I actually did a review comparing these two. Actually, these are probably the two original bottles. Both of these need to go because they're both expired. The Triple Protection Skin Tint from Hello Fab and the Glossier Skin Tint. This is the original. This is the shade Light before they expanded the shade range. And then this is the shade Fair. Both are very similar, guys. If you want something with slightly more dew, I would go with the Fab. And if you want something just a little bit more skin-like, go with the Glossier. I'm gonna throw away both of these and keep G12 because this is my shade now. Really, these are just excellent quick makeup products. You can keep in your desk, you can keep in your purse, and really every single time you wear them, especially with something like the Glossier Skin Tint, it really sinks into the skin so you can't see where it starts and ends. It gives you a little bit of coverage, but again, it doesn't look like there's any makeup whatsoever on the skin, which is something that I like to go for some days. So keeping this one. One that I will be passing along, it's still good. This one hasn't expired yet, so I feel okay passing it along. It's the IT Cosmetics Confidence in a Foundation. I was initially really interested in this one because it has a lot of extra skincare benefits to it, and I like when foundations can offer that, especially at a higher price tag. This one is really great if you want something very velvety, you need it to last all day, but it doesn't look super heavy on the skin. This is actually one of those foundations that I didn't think I was going to like as much as I do, and the formula I think is really beautiful. Quite lightweight on the skin, but also gives you kind of a lit from within velvety look. Overall, I think the formula is really pretty. I'm going to pass this along though because the shade is definitely too dark for me. Okay, a foundation that, yes, I have 4 of them, and yes, this is like the hit of 2019 for me. Probably the best new find I've had this year. It's the CYO Long Lasting Foundation. I have 2 shades. I have 102, which is my typical shade, and 103, which is for summer. This is like the perfect medium coverage, natural, and long wearing foundation. It is the complete package. It is around $5 and performs, actually outperforms like most of the foundations I've tried from Sephora. Really an excellent product. And then CYO is discontinued. Like the entire brand is discontinued. I was really upset, and that's why I actually got these backups because just the formula is so good. It gives you just the slight bit of dewiness and that really healthy luminous look to your skin without it being overly dewy. And to be honest, though I love dewy foundation, sometimes I just want something more natural, and this really has the perfect balance in so many different ways, you know, finish-wise. I actually quite like the packaging. I think it's really minimal, which I love. Anyway, so long story short, the Soap & Glory Kickass is literally the same foundation, except a little bit more expensive. But honestly, I don't even care about the price because this just the formula is so freaking good, you guys. It says it's 24-hour wear. It says it's sweat proof. I'm telling you, if you want the most natural long wear foundation out there on the market, I really struggle to find one that would even compare to this. This is the shade 01. You can see I've already used a bunch of this. I just love it. It's been my go-to for months now. I'm keeping all of these. One that I think I'm going to keep just for the springtime is the tinted face oil from Kosas. I really like this one for more transitional seasons like spring and fall. I find that in summer, I don't tend to use it because it is a tinted face oil. And then in the winter, believe it or not, I tend to use this more as like a mix-in rather than just on its own. I can't really explain why. I just find that in transitional seasons, this really works well for my skin that doesn't really know what it's doing. Whereas when my skin is more normalized, I tend to not reach for it. This is actually more of a dry oil base. This isn't super greasy whatsoever. I definitely need to get more use out of this spring. And lastly, we have two foundations that I love very, very much. First, starting off with the Physicians Formula, the Healthy Foundation. This is one of those formulas and just foundations in general that I would pay so much money for, and I'm so glad that I don't have to. This really does just give you exceptionally healthy looking skin. I actually quite like that it comes with a big doe foot applicator. It is like a little bit messy, but I can't tell you how quick it is. It really is quick, healthy, glowy makeup. This is a natural to dewy finish, but one thing that I think sets this foundation apart is that it also has that pore filling sort of airbrush quality that a lot of more dewy foundations don't have, especially at something like the drugstore. You know, at the drugstore, you're kind of expecting dewy makeup that just looks dewy. It's not really offering anything else. It looks very sheer. It's very no makeup. This is an exceptionally unique formula, in my opinion. Again, it will give you that very airbrushed, flawless look without it looking like really heavy makeup. Just the formula, the luxe packaging, everything about this I love. It's definitely, you know, top 5 foundations for me. And lastly, we have the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Foundation. This is actually one that I had a weird relationship with at first. I didn't really love the way it looked when applied with a damp beauty blender, which tends to be my preferred method while applying really any foundation. But when applied with your fingers or just a completely dry sponge, I really love the way that this looks. You don't need a lot of product at all. It actually has a surprising amount of coverage. This to me definitely competes with some of the Dior foundations for sure. And I definitely prefer this formula over most of the Dior foundations I've tried, to be honest. But really, it's just such a pretty finish, very luminous, but I think what sets it apart from a lot of the other foundations I've talked about is the fact that it is so pigmented and you need less product, which I think is an awesome plus. I have the shade Ivory L2. I always reach for this one when I want my foundation to last as well. This is definitely exceptional if you need your foundation to last on the skin. So keeping that one. So these are the 4 foundations that I'm going to be passing along to friends. These are all the foundations that I'm keeping. And then these are all the ones that I am throwing away. Definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And leave me a comment down below if you've tried any of these or if you know of a foundation you think I'd be interested in. Not that I'm really in the market at the moment, but I'm always interested in the formulas that you guys like. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in my next one.